Good afternoon, everybody. Eddie Webb. We are here at the New Media Lab podcast series, and today our guest is Victoria Kubova, all the way from Russia.
Hi.
Victoria has been with us here in Mesa Community College for 5 years. She is a project manager. Her expertise and degrees are in project management. She has worked through a lot of projects here at Mesa Community College, and we want to talk to our faculty and staff about the importance of working with folks who are experts in project management. I've worked a number of projects through the college in the years that I've been here, and the support and the knowledge and the ability to organize a project, to be accountable for a project, to keep a project inside of a time frame has been absolutely critical. We want to welcome Victoria Kubova today. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for the great introduction, and I'm really thankful to be here today.
So recently you had a publication in the New Media Lab Press, and there's an excellent piece that you wrote about, you started off with the question, why community college during times of COVID, and moved into this notion of the cultural sensitivity around technology, the workforce, and education. You want to talk a little bit about your publication?
Sure, yes. And it was a great pleasure to be able to share my thoughts and opinion on this current situation. I would say I would start with that we've been in a state of shock, I guess, not just at the community college, but it is a nation. As a community college, we were wondering, okay, what to do and how to move to the next level and how we're going to still help our students and provide them the education they came here for. So as I mentioned in my article, that the COVID pandemic became pretty much an accelerator to many good things, even though we were in the state of unknown. But as the whole situation unfolded, we found out there's actually a lot of things that were happening in the background, such as introducing more technology in our daily life. But with the pandemic, we were able to accelerate it and jump on it very quickly. So we have our WebEx meetings daily now, but we always had WebEx available to us. Right. And I'm coming from IT department, so I know it's been around for quite some time. But for some reason, we were hesitant to introduce it to larger groups here at the college.
Yeah, I think for me, that's been one of the most exciting, if you can say that. I mean, I know we're in in many ways, a tragic situation with the loss of life in our country. I think as of date, I know at least 5 people from our Indian community who have passed away as a result of COVID. And I know other people who have, I had a cousin that got COVID and was, 5 days and back to work. And I have others that I know that have suffered. And so we want to always acknowledge that that this pandemic has impacted lives, but at the same time, it has jump-started us 3 to 5 years from where I think the natural progression to incorporate technology and media into instruction, as well into administration and the abilities to communicate with one another. Here in the New Media Lab, we were way ahead in doing these technologies. Mm-hmm. And it's been actually rewarding to see folks by mandate have to jump in the pool, right? Have to get
absolutely.
wet.
And it's almost like there's no choice.
There is no choice. And then when this is all over, it's exciting to think about the skill set that people are going to have and what they're going to do with those, 2 years from now, year and a half from now. I think it's going to allow people to really rethink how we teach in many ways. But I will tell you that the students that I work with still want to be on campus. They want to have a college experience. They want to be with other humans and interact. And there's more holistic approach to education than just an efficient way to distribute information. Right. Let's just set that part of it. I know that was one of the very first things that the mistake I had made, having taught for so many years face to face and then going online, was early on. I had the first semester I had tried to recreate the face to face experience online, and that was a mistake. They're two very different ways of teaching and interacting. And with with the help of your office, it was just phenomenal to have the support, not only there in the CTL and others who stepped up and really took leadership in showing people, all the possibilities and choices. WebEx, I know that you all have mandates and legal framework that you need to make sure, right, that we follow for all kinds of legal reasons that are out of my they're completely out of my scope. I prefer the Google Meet app. Probably it's because it was the first one that I was already always using.
Right, something that was more seems more available, and I guess it was there before.
Yeah, and the simplicity of it, I can get done to me, it's just a tool.
Yeah.
So I can get done what I need to get done. But inside of the bigger audiences, and I really love that workboard inside of WebEx where people can get on the whiteboard and take
you
notes.
can do notes and annotate.
Yeah, what is that called? What technology is that?
I think they just go like a whiteboard. So that's a simple name. So you can use it in a classroom or for any meetings where you're actually pretty much like writing on the whiteboard.
Yeah,
but virtually.
And it's interactive.
Yes.
Right.
So you can share access to it with participants, and as a presenter, you can control certain items. If you want them just be the audience viewing that, or you can create different side groups. So say if you would like to have a few people collaborate together, then come back to the main meetings, this is also available.
Yeah, and those take a minute to get comfortable with. Those are models that corporations have been using for quite some time, right?
Yes.
To run large businesses and all that. But when you're a faculty person with 24 students, you want to keep the technological noise down as much as possible, right? And not get yourself in a situation where you're making mistakes. That's the comfortability part that faculty need to get.
Well, I guess there's what I was also highlighting in my article, that bringing all the classes online and for faculty communicating with students online, it gives the opportunity for them to teach our students another skill, how to be successful in the corporate world. As you mentioned, they're already using those tools, and some of them live and work in different states where their main office can be in completely different state, region, country. And by providing this virtual classroom experience, they can actually adapt better. And this is like an indirect skill we're giving to them right now. I'm saying maybe moving forward, it's not ideal to have everything virtual, but this is something that we're incorporating, and we're almost changing the culture of community college and culture of our students, and bringing them to the speed that the world is moving, because we're trying to educate them and give them all the tools and maybe even mindset to be successful in this world, because we are all of us are teachers to them. And I would say coming from a different perspective, since I'm not a faculty, I'm working on the administration side, and sometimes I don't have to interact with students a lot.
Right.
But personally, I feel like it would be really beneficial to me as a student if I get to experience that.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I think it jump-started us 3 to 5 years of where we would have naturally been on track because of the way we operate.
Right.
But it's been exciting, and I agree. The students have the potential to benefit. Of course, as faculty, we can never make assumptions that people have laptops, internet,
Of course.
right? So it also, with our demographic here in Mesa, it also presents financial and access challenges for us to be mindful of. But again, this is a good thing for us to expand, right?
Absolutely. And also, as I mentioned in my article, so we have a quite wide access to different cultural diversity, I would say, and cultural sensitivity, as far as we have all our students come from different backgrounds, different, I guess, economical situations, so different cultures. So here in the classroom, you bring all these diverse people, like from completely different environments,
Right.
and you make them collaborate in the virtual world. Where else they're going to get such an experience? Because you can have someone who is very hands-on and they learn very fast, someone who doesn't know how to use technology. So altogether, they're going through those challenges. And maybe I sound a little optimistic, but this is a slow process, but they're learning, and they're learning to be patient with each other as well, because they're realizing there are a lot of people who are maybe not capable of catching and understanding something right away. So this is a good example of cultural sensitivity. I feel like we used to experience that in the classroom, but experiencing it virtually, it adds or brings it to a totally different level.
Right. Yeah. And all of these things are, challenges that as scholars and as professionals, we should embrace and be, challenged by it to meet the challenge,
Right.
For us, and when you're in the classroom, you're always thinking about the andragogy, the pedagogy, the cultural sensitivity. I have been tested over the years to be a global learner, right?
Yeah.
So global learners in social situations like that tend to be quiet, tend to want to think things through before they speak. I know some people will find that hard to believe, but it's and so I've noticed even in my classes, I've had to make provision and some ground rules, because I know there are students in my classroom who are extremely dedicated to their learning. They're doing amazing projects, but they're not going to speak up in a crowd, especially online, who they have no idea who's recording the class, who's not recording the class. I had to switch my link a couple of times because we were getting hacked by guys that were coming in there and just speaking, a lot of profanity, and it was not very pleasant, right? So, not to get too far off track, but these are realities that faculty, need to be mindful of,
Okay.
that not everybody. I mean, this is one of the reasons I really liked your article, was that you took time to talk about cultural sensitivity, right? And for me, these are the realities of what that means, is, to make sure we can reach and communicate at all capacities of our students, right?
Well, absolutely. Also, coming from a totally different country, my background is, as you mentioned at the beginning, I grew up in St. Petersburg, Russia. And maybe like when I was student at one of the community colleges, so I took some classes at Paradise Valley College. I was actually shy to speak up because I have an accent, and I was really, I would say, concerned that I'm going to sound different. And I had things to say, but I would be just quiet because I feel like I'm not fitting in. I sound different.
Yeah.
And I totally understand what you're saying, that some people may be very smart and they have a lot to bring to the table, and maybe they can write like great papers, but in this face-to-face environment, or I would say like virtual face-to-face environment, they kind of just fade. So as a faculty member, it's probably really difficult sometimes to bring it to kind of like bring to the energy to the same level for all.
Yeah, I think it just stretches faculty a little more, to be involved. I think it's a good thing because it makes me, as I have I've been doing this a minute, and I can
Yes.
read a class pretty quick, and I've learned how in the classroom to grab that energy and how to, you know,
Well, let me ask you that. So, how do you do it now in the virtual environment? Because now, since you don't see their faces, what is a good way to grasp the kind of like the environment and the mood of the class?
well, I think it's important to name it. And so, as the teacher, I want to do, as they say, the heavy lifting at the beginning in my syllabi to lay down some ground rules and to be open and transparent about how different people react in these situations. So, give permission to people to be quiet when they need to be, but also, I've noticed I'm spending more time one on one with my students online, helping them because that's what their biggest fear is that they don't want to ask a question that.
Right, right.
And as always, if one student has that question, two students
Absolutely. And they would be surprised. I
Yeah.
had that happen to me. I asked a question and then someone like, wow, I was thinking
Yeah.
to ask that, but I didn't feel confident or comfortable.
Yeah. There's another thing with that though, is that I've noticed students who are not participating at the level they should be. They're probably not ready to be in college yet. It's a little more, everybody kind of sees that,
Yeah.
which can work both ways, I guess, for the student. But that's what I do. I'm just 100% transparent. I just talk, I share my story. I'm a global learner. I know what it's like when I get around 10 or more people, I'll get real quiet.
Mm.
And it takes a lot for me to then speak in those circles. It's also, people have cultural backgrounds of respect,
Yeah.
when to talk, things like that. Hey, coming from Russia, how old were you when you came here?
Well, first time when I visited, I was 20,
Okay.
and I moved permanently when I was 22.
Okay. So, what kind of cultural experience did you experience?
Well, I guess first for me was that even though I was 20 years old, I was already in college, in university in Russia. So when I came here, I felt like I have to kind of rewind a little bit or go back. So instead of like 20, I felt like I'm 15 because I had to learn a lot of new things. So basically, how to find a certain information, where to go, like even like find a doctor I need to go to, like find the library. What do I want to do here? What kind of career I want to have? And so technically it was a lot of just kind of like navigating my way through because things were totally different from where I was coming from Russian culture.
Did you already have a good grasp on the English language? Did you grow up speaking English?
No, actually, I didn't speak any English until probably I was like 18. So
Wow.
I took some classes before that, and mainly I just kind of felt called to speak English. I don't know. So my major is linguistics and languages. So I actually went to university in St. Petersburg, Russia. I was actually, it wasn't dedicated to languages, so it was more like economics, law, and translation, interpretation in that area. But what happened, like language was also a very challenging part for me. So when the first time I came to United States, I stayed upstate New York. where I was working with children, and this is how I actually started practicing and speaking the language. For me, it was very difficult to kind of grasp it right away because, like, while you're learning, you're still thinking in Russian language, and you're kind of
Right.
translating to yourself. But kind of like fast forward from that experience, when I moved here permanently, I would say community colleges really helped me to find my way. So I started taking English as a second language classes here with Rio Salado. And also I got my first job as a testing technician for Rio Salado lab, so part-time, and kind of taking classes and working there, being more exposed to American culture and just learning my way around. And I felt like it's a great organization where I can find myself. So and I started pursuing other opportunities. And I guess that's my story in a nutshell.
It sounds like a pretty exciting journey. Keegan here is from upstate New York.
Oh, hey,
Yeah,
nice.
What town are you from, Keegan?
Ticonderoga.
Do you know where that is?
Well, I was by Buffalo, like Pinyon, small city, Rochester, and the camp was by Finger Lakes, and we were Seneca Lake. And they actually said that this is one of the deepest lake in U.S., and they're testing submarines there. So it must be really deep.
Wow.
Forest and like nature was so beautiful. It was really amazing. So summer is nice, but then it gets really cold.
Yeah, that's what Keegan. He's shown us all drone footage. It's beautiful, beautiful. A lot of houses on the water.
Yes, it was like very cool. It was actually an interesting experience to see people jumping on the boat to get around. So like they go to the store riding a boat, they go to visit friends riding a boat. So totally different, I guess, lifestyle.
So in your article, you talk about the excitement of learning other cultures and traveling a lot around foreign countries. What's your favorite country?
Gosh, wow. Well, I would say for different reasons. So for architecture, I really like Italy. So I would say Milan and Rome and Venice, Florence. So those are the cities that are really, I was really fascinated by the culture. And for the nature, it was Australia because it's so different. It's almost like in a totally different world. Like even trees look different. And they have so many beautiful birds and other animals, like nothing like here.
All of this must make you a wealth of knowledge here, as a manager, to be able to have these experiences. I used to work in Italy and
Nice.
travel around quite a bit around the planet, and you're absolutely right. Could never find a favorite place. It was always, for this, I like,
Right.
But I found this place in the last few years called Yellowstone Park right here in the good old
That's
United
beautiful.
States.
Yes.
I love spending time up there in Jackson, and I've done a lot of wildlife photography up there. And all of that I bring back into the classroom. When we first started with new media lab work, I used to just take cameras and go out and get a whole bunch of footage and B-roll and then bring it back and let students make a story, right, to tell a story from it. So I see, but I saw in your article that you took time to write about that, about traveling and your experiences. What do you think the biggest change that we need to adjust after COVID in the classroom?
I would say there's no, my personal belief, I don't think we will get to the point completely after COVID, because this is something that will be engraved in our culture, in our DNA moving forward. This is something that we probably have to live with. I don't think that everything will go away soon. So we may be eased on certain things, like maybe certain social distancing or mask requirements will is like in 2-3 years or something like that, unfortunately or fortunately, because As we know, there are no real treatment for that right now. And so I would say community college probably will be really successful in the environment where maybe 50 to 60% of it is still in person, or maybe 50-50, 15%, 50 online. Because I noticed also that I've been helping with the computer lab here on campus, which is in Building B40 and open for all the students who need access to internet or a simple computer. So students can have virtual tutoring meetings with their instructor, and I feel like we'll save so much time to instructors and students, because students won't need to travel to get to campus or a certain location to meet with a tutor. They can just schedule like 30 short meeting, 30 minutes online, and discuss all the questions they need to ask. I feel like this will be, I would say, post-COVID, or maybe COVID in kind of like influx of change.
Yeah, I agree. Distance learning will become a permanent fixture of any sort of learning endeavor. And that the people that master that the most, I think, will really benefit society and education as a whole. Everybody, Eddie Webb, we are here in the New Media Lab talking with Project Manager Victoria, and we'll be right back.